Hey
No
everybody, what's
music.
up? Yeah, it's just us. That's just
Yeah,
us
just
for the next 30
ns,
minutes.
ns, ns, ns.
uh Hi guys. Welcome to another episode of 8-Bit Upstarts. It is our Thanksgiving week special,
Yeah, we
right?
have
Yeah, we have
so many
so
things
much planned.
planned. My
Yeah, we have
buttons that do
events, we
things on the
have
screens aren't working.
yeah,
Get that. Yeah, we're professionals,
yeah,
people.
we are so professional. Anyway, my name's Nate,
I'm Tommy.
and with it being around Thanksgiving, you know what that means.
One of the
It's
four
the
best
Steam
times of
Autumn
the year.
Sale.
The
That's
Steam
right, the
Autumn
Steam
Sale.
Autumn Sale.
Have
Um,
Have you had a
I
chance to look at anything that's on sale currently?
just a couple of the featured games.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've been. I have actually seen commercials, which is weird. Commercials for Hogwarts Legacy being like forty
Oh,
percent
okay.
off,
I
and
was
it's like I rarely ever see games like advertised like that for like a Steam sale. But
I thought you were gonna say you saw the Steam sale as a commercial, and I was like, I didn't even know they did that.
no, no. Well, so it would. I I don't know how. Like I kind of wasn't like paying attention, but I was like, "Holy crap! This is a commercial for Hogwarts Legacy," and they're like advertising it being on sale on Steam. So it was
Huh.
just weird, but
Yeah, you should at 40%
but
off.
that's not a bad deal.
You should do it.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I know I should just add it to the list of
Yeah,
every other game that I don't play.
right. What I do like now, I that I never used to really utilize in Steam was the wish list. And so
Hmm.
I have like 20 plus games in the wish list. And so anytime there's a sale, it's just all green with savings. Like all the percentages are dropped and everything,
It's
which
all
is
great with savings,
it's
savings,
yeah, just
savings.
money. So it's a really easy way to look at like, the games that I actually want and see like if any of them are worth buying.
Right.
Have you So I know now they're like the sales always coincide with the seasons, right? There's the spring,
Hmm.
summer, fall, and winter, or autumn and winter sale. Do you remember like what was the best purchase you ever made on a Steam sale?
Oh my gosh. Probably. Oh man, that's a good question.
Yeah,
What the
probably should
heck
have
did
prepped
I'm
that so
trying to
you
think
could
what that what
research that.
yeah, well, I don't know I don't remember, honestly don't remember what I bought during a Steam sale.
Right.
Possibly looking through my list, I'm going to say either I think I got Witcher 3 during a Steam sale,
Mm.
and if not that, then definitely Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah, but it may not have been an actual like Steam, like one of the seasonal Steam sales. It might have just been one of the publisher sales.
Oh,
I
right, right,
can't
right.
remember. So, but I definitely did not pay full price for those games. So,
I think so. In July, I was looking through my Steam transactions. In July of 2013, I traded in my Xbox 360 and a bunch of games I had at the time and just like went full. That was
mhm,
like when I went like I'm all PC now, like I don't like need a console anymore because most of the games I wanted to play were
mhm,
on PC as well. So I traded in all of
mhm,
that and just bought Steam, like, wallet credit cards and everything. I got like $150 or something in that
nice.
neighborhood after the, controllers and all the games and stuff. And I did that
Mhm,
over a summer sale just by happenstance. And I ended up purchasing uh the Elder Scrolls, what not legendary edition or whatever the special edition was at the time, whatever its name
go
was,
for
because now
Skyrim.
it's like now it's like a Skyrim Legendary Edition or whatever. I bought
Yeah.
that. I bought Bastion. I bought all of Fallout New Vegas and all of its DLCs, and I bought Dragon Age, and I still had like I think like $60 left over because it was on.
Hmm.
They were all on Steam summer sale back when like I feel like the summer sales were really good. Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
now,
I always remember that was the one you looked forward to.
yeah, the summer sale I feel like is still typically pretty good, but now, because now some of the sales, it's like, yeah, cool, these games are on sale. They're maybe not on sale that much, and a lot of games that I don't want are on like super sale. Like they're trying to move this
Hmm.
digital product because they're gonna run out.
Yeah, yeah. We need the space. Get rid of
Yeah.
it
Um.
because that's how that works.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, I am curious to see. It does typically change like every day around noon or 11 to noon or
Hmm.
whatever. Like the sales will all kind of shuffle. So I am
Hmm.
curious to see if anything worth getting or worth like really considering comes out. Because of the games on my wish list, only Sonic Frontiers is over 50% off.
Hmm.
Which is one that I'm like, if that gets below 20, I think I might do it. Right now, it's still like 25. But Final
Okay.
Fantasy VII Remake is 50% off, but it's still like
Mm.
$35 for a game that I know you've played it, right? Like the remake.
I haven't finished it, but yes, I have played it.
What? I
It's
guess,
different.
yeah. And that's why I'm like, I don't know if 35 is worth it yet. Because it's still like $70 full price, which I find insane.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
Wondering
for a
if
game I've
it'll
played
if
before, but is way different.
yeah, it's a similar story retold,
Yeah,
basically.
with like, I think what's crazy to me is like you can get Yuffie like
Uh-huh.
that early, which doesn't like that's just not how. Like I'm sure they made it make sense, I guess, but it just to me that's just really
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I played the original so many times that I just like the first chance I can get her into the party, I do, which is like right before Juno,
Yeah, I think
right
so.
after the Mithril Caves. Um, but yeah, but still, that's still outside the city, all.
Yeah.
So it's a weird, but I don't know. She's a
So
fun character.
yeah, are you able to get what everyone except Vincent and Sid at that point or
Uh,
in that one?
at that point in the original,
No, 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 in the
or
remake.
just in the remake. My understanding is that in the first, okay, so in the first one, because the second one's coming
Someone
out
comes
very
out.
soon.
Yeah,
Um, you could get up to Red 13, but he wasn't fully playable. He was just kind of like there, like
like
doing his
story
own thing.
movement.
Yeah. And then they released kind of like a little expansion side quest that brought in Yuffie.
Okay.
And then for this next one, I believe Red 13 will now be like fully playable, and they're going to do the same thing with Vincent, where he's just going to be kind of part of the party, but not like controllable to an
Mm,
extent. So, not sure how I feel about that.
me either. Mostly
Like I
because
want to play. I guess I'm just like uh, not patient
yeah, yeah, I guess that's true.
because
Oh,
he's like one
I
of my
guess
favorite characters. So,
right. I guess, and I think we talked about this last time, but like how Sid or Vincent and Yuffie are missable
hmm,
characters. Like you can not get them, and with at least with Vince, like I think with Yuffie, you always run into her at least once, and then
yeah,
you have
just
to do
by
things to pick her
sheer
up.
right,
Yeah, but with Vincent, you could literally
just
completely
walk
miss
right
him
by the
and not
door
know that you didn't
and
even.
yeah,
And I love that. I love that because that
hmm.
was always like, oh, did you get Vincent? And I would be like, who's that? Like he's a vampire who shoots shotguns, and you're like, oh, I have to go restart this game.
Yeah, yes, he's a vampire that uses guns and turns into monsters.
Yeah, and I
So,
was, and he's super OP. Not really,
yeah,
but like he's
but he's a
physical
strong
damage.
character.
He's really
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah, especially throw him in the back line with the rifle.
Oh yeah, it's rifle,
And
not shotgun. Well, I guess one of them's a
well, I
shotgun,
mean, he
right?
has he has both. He
Yeah,
uses
that's right.
both.
Did you ever play the game what was that? Dirge of Cerberus? Like the one
I
like featuring
did.
I heard that was really
Yeah.
bad. I never played it.
It was okay. It was weird for Final Fantasy, like because it was a shooter,
Right.
right? for Final Fantasy shooter, which was weird, but
Yeah.
I still played it, and it was fine.
Plot.
It wasn't. It was fine. Um,
Well,
it's something I can add to say, hey, I beat that game.
yeah,
Of the
that's true.
very few games I can actually say that I beat.
Yeah.
It
Oh my
feels like
God.
that is not a long list.
Oh my, yeah, for sure. I feel like that's a whole nother. We could have a whole podcast just about games we haven't finished and why we haven't finished them. Do you consider finished like fully 100% all achievements, or just like you beat the main story?
No, just the story.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have time for the completionist
me either. The
in me.
only perfect game I have in Steam right now is Counter-Strike 2, because that only has one achievement currently, and that achievement was to boot up Counter-Strike 2. And so I'm like, perfect. I have a perfect game.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
So, in addition to the autumn sale, what happened right before it was the 25th anniversary of Half-Life.
Man, that's
Isn't that wild?
that
November
is wild.
1998. And
Jeez.
with that, so they made the original Half-Life free to just get on Steam for a couple days, and then like the entire Valve, like, Half-Life, Team Fortress, Half-Life 2, a lot of those games were all like super cheap, and I think they still are during the autumn sale now, but they also dropped an hour-long documentary about the development of the original Half-Life, and how basically Half-Life and Valve were both developed at the same time. And it's a really interesting documentary that goes through, two Microsoft developers starting their own gaming company. But so we were talking right before this, you've never played Half-Life?
I don't think so. I may have like spent like a few minutes playing it, but I never really got like I definitely didn't really get into it.
So neither Half-Life or Half-Life 2?
No, unfortunately not.
So to me,
Quietly judging me. Jeez.
yeah, for sure. So they, like I said, I think right now Half-Life, the original one's $1, and they've they ported it to the Half-Life 2 engine, but it still looks like a game that was released in 1998, but the water effects look like they were released in like 2005. But there is a bunch of for fun, some developers completely remade Half-Life in the Half-Life 2 engine, like from scratch, and it's called Black Mesa.
Okay.
That one, I don't know if it's on sale. It probably is. If you haven't played Half-Life, I think there's something to say about going back and playing like the original Half-Life, and with all of the audio and the graphics as they are, or as they were back in 1998. But Black Mesa is like such a great remake of that game that if you've never played it before and you want something that feels like it was released in this millennium, definitely look into Black Mesa.
Okay.
And then I would also recommend Half-Life 2. The story in Half-Life is just really good. And it will never be finished because we'll never get Half-Life 3. I'm still so mad about that.
Yeah, I always it's become a meme at this point from what I've seen.
Yes, absolutely. It's just so frustrating knowing that they left the story on like somewhat of a cliffhanger. Like there's still story left to tell because it didn't resolve. And that's what I want. Like, even if you resolve it and it's bad, at least it's resolved. I know for some people they're like, I would rather it not be resolved than it be resolved and be terrible.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm
fair.
like, I just want resolution. It's been now almost 20. It's been like 16 years since the last Half-Life game.
Wow. That's
yeah.
Well, yeah.
So it's never happening.
It's hey, I mean, look at Elder Scrolls though. I mean,
yeah, but that's kind of their MO, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm trying to be a positive thinker here, but
no.
If you want to shoot that down, that's fine.
There is no positive with Half-Life 3. Everything is negative.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day they'll surprise drop it. Maybe they're working on it right now, and they just are really good at keeping a secret.
That it would very much fit in their sort of MO, is just to like,
Mm-hmm.
because they kind of the Steam Deck was kind of a surprise drop, right? Like when they
Yeah,
announced that they were
yeah.
making that, everyone was like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that that was a thing they were doing, and they were like, yeah, we're
Mm-hmm.
pre-ordering it now. So I mean,
Yeah.
it could happen. They did fire the head writer a couple of years ago, or he left, so I'm
Oh,
not
well,
not
that's
holding my
usually not
breath.
good. Right. Oh,
So, but yeah, definitely check out
yeah.
Black Mesa. It's a fun
Yeah, I
game.
would definitely will. I'll have to see what what the big hullabaloo's about. And then,
So,
well, I mean, speaking of that, what you just said, the with the Steam sale going on and the secret release of the Steam Deck, we
oh
do
yeah,
have the OLED version of
I
the Steam
know.
Deck has just been released, announced.
I think so I saw a couple articles. It's been announced for sure. I think it is released. It's supposed if you buy now, it's supposed to ship in the next couple
Oh yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah.
But
I see.
I read somewhere that they're like prepared, like they apparently have a good stock like ready so that
Hmm.
there's not people that are going to order it and have to wait months like the
Right.
original one. And I think
Hmm.
the original one is now like a little bit cheaper. I
Yeah, a little bit.
personally would love a Steam Deck, but I can't justify getting a Steam Deck. Is kind of how I'm where I'm at right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. It would be really cool, but not at really that price point.
Yeah. I mean, and the price, and it's so funny too, because like compared to other like the ROG Ally and some other like handheld things, the Steam Deck's like
Hmm.
the best value. Like it
Hmm.
is significantly cheaper than, I mean, at least in the low end. Like there's a low end version which is still like really worth it in terms of the money, but it's just like it's not worth paying $300 to be able to play the games when I sit, you know, 35 feet
Yeah.
away from my computer.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I'm in the same situation. I mean, it's really cool though. I mean, I'm glad that we're actually getting some good handhelds. Um,
Yeah.
between the Steam Deck and then also the new PS5 or the PlayStation handhelds.
Yeah, I saw a video about
There's
that, and that
a lot of hoops to jump through with that one.
yeah, and you can't just buy it, like you have to have a PS5, I think,
Mhm.
from what I saw, to like set it up,
I'm
which
pretty
is
sure you
like
do.
that's
It's
that
really just an
ruins it.
extension of your console that you
Right.
have to already own.
Right, exactly. So you could get it cuz you have one,
Yeah,
but
but I
that's
won't
not worth it at
because
all. Yeah.
but still, I mean, it's still a good time for, it's what's the
It's
word? It's a good time for handhelds, right? Like,
yeah, I
I
was going to
mean,
the technology is
it's
finally there.
yeah. I mean, the innovation, that's the word. Like, we need
Yes.
this to keep
Mhm.
going. So you just have to keep pushing further. I mean, look at you take a look at failed launches like the Dreamcast. It was in hindsight, it was like way ahead of its
So
time.
ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It had a modem. You could, because that was like the first console that could. Well, no, because that was the same generation as the PS2, right? I think,
I
and
think
the
so.
Xbox. Because the PS2, you could buy the add-on that gave it like a modem, and you could plug it in. But
Mhm.
yeah, the Dreamcast came out like. I mean, I think the N64 was still like
Mhm.
that, and because you could play like
Released.
Fantasy Star Online was like one of the first like
Mhm.
multiplayer online games. I only
99.
90
1999.
I wow. I only ever played a Dreamcast one time in my life.
I think I'm in the same boat.
I remember going over, I don't remember where I was or whose Dreamcast it was, but I remember holding the controller and then having the same kind of feeling when I held the first original Xbox controller because they were
Mhm.
like this big.
They're
And I
big
was like,
chonkers.
geez. And I was like 8 or 9 at the time, so I had tiny little hands. And I remember playing, I think I played like NASCAR
Hmm.
which is already a game that I don't care about. Like, it's not interesting to me. But I remember, being like, oh man, this is super cool. And then I think whoever we were at, like, showed me like Madden, and like the
Hmm.
Dreamcast had that little screen that sat in the controller that you could pull out. Do you
Hmm.
remember? And like in Madden, it would show you the plays that you could pick on your screen, so you could pick your plays and the other person wouldn't see it. And I remember being
Mm.
like, that is super cool. And then the
It
Dreamcast
was really
died.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was a shame. But yeah, it was just we weren't ready for that.
Mm-mm.
We weren't ready for that kind of power.
Yeah, right. And then we were immediately ready for it when all of the next generation came out.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like everyone who was working on their next gen console saw the Dreamcast fail, but like took all the good things about it and just implemented it into their console.
Right. Well, I mean,
I mean,
somebody's got to be
sometimes,
first, right?
yeah, right. Um, did you ever? So I wanted to kind of go back. You said about like the handheld console and like the
Oh
innovation where
yeah,
we've
yeah.
come. Did you
Hmm.
ever have an Nvidia Shield, like the original, like the controller with the
Mm,
screen? That
no,
I
I
bought
didn't.
that like when it came out, and that thing was so awesome because it was like a controller with a clamshell, like, so you had everything right there, and that was the
Uh-huh.
very beginning of like Nvidia doing the game stream stuff.
Hmm.
So at the time, internet, I mean, bandwidth was really bad. Like, there was super input lag. I remember playing Fallout 3, and it was like, go left, go right. It was just like such a delay, but it was so much fun just to tinker with, because it was an Android device, so I could put on like a Game Boy emulator. So I had like, I could play Pokemon and not have to like be at my computer at that point in time or anything. So it was like,
Hmm.
it was super cool. And now we're at the point where, I mean, I have the new Nvidia Shield downstairs, like the one that acts basically like a Fire Stick, and
Hmm.
that has Steam Link on it, and that is probably the smoothest gameplay of streaming from my PC that I have ever experienced. Like,
Wow.
that's how I've been playing Cyberpunk on my bigger TV downstairs. I can push
Hmm.
1080p, so it's not 1440 or 4K like I can do if I'm sitting right here, but there's no input lag. It very occasionally jitters, but
Wow.
not enough. I mean, you wouldn't play like Apex Legends or Call of Duty, like
Right.
anything
Anything that
like
needs
that.
like
But if you're playing a single player game, it's absolutely worth it.
hmm that's cool. Very
Ugh.
interesting. Yeah, that's technology is very cool right now for video games and such, but yeah, sorry, I'm checking out this Nvidia Shield. I haven't actually seen what like the most recent ones look like, so
Yeah,
that's
they
really
have
interesting.
like a Fire Stick looking one, like it's a little cylinder.
Uh-huh.
I have the one that's a little bit more powerful. It looks like a little, like a set top box, but it's the size of like a, I don't know. This is actually Steam's version of it, the Steam Link, the hardware
Oh
version.
yeah.
The
Hmm.
Nvidia Shield's a little bit bigger than this.
Okay,
So,
that's not
but
bad.
this is the same concept. This is only has Steam Link on it, but they stopped. They don't make it anymore, and
Hmm.
so it's not like, it's still getting updates and it's still
I was gonna
supported.
say,
But
is it
like,
still supported?
yeah, it. So both of them, the Nvidia Shield, and I mean, some smart TVs have Steam Link. Like, Steam Link is an app now. They got rid of the hardware and they just focused on the app, really. Uh,
Hmm.
so you can use Wi-Fi, but that will increase all of your problems, like input lag, your streaming quality. So if you're
Hmm.
not hardwired in it, and I think that's why my Nvidia Shield works so well, is I hardwire in. But
Hmm.
that that's really what you have to do. I never got to try that with this guy, but I'm pretty sure if you did, it would be just fine.
Hmm. Interesting.
But yeah,
Yeah, I never got into the Steam Link stuff, and one of my buddies has one. Um, but it was always nice. We always had we always had issues. It was like, oh, it's like it was like still like linked to his computer, and then we'd have to like run a cable up for like to the front. big
Yeah.
screen TV and all that stuff. But no, it was pretty handy to have. So
Yeah.
it's really cool that they're still supporting it as a device, and then also just the fact that they can do everything through the app now.
Yeah, and that's how like my wife and I were playing like all of the Trine games and a lot of the like couch co-op games. We just did the
Hmm.
Steam Link downstairs to the TV so that we could both play because like they have Bluetooth and can accept I think up to 4 controllers, so you can still do that and it works just fine. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I
That's
use
cool.
it pretty consistently.
Yeah. Let's see what else. It's I know we're like.
It's so funny. We always try and like uh naturally transition into new topics, and then occasionally
Hmm.
there's that time you're like, let me read our outline. What are we going
Yeah,
to talk about next?
yeah. It's like in related news, but not really related news in a completely different direction.
You have to do it like a news anchor too. Like you have to talk and then you
Yeah,
have to turn and then talk
yeah.
to the new
So it's like go
camera.
to camera two, camera one, camera two. Um. So, well, there is one thing. It's kind of like something I wanted to talk about, like whenever we've had like kind of time to fill, is uh the love of retro style games like now, like
Mm,
take so you like you get like these 8-bit games, the like the pixelated
mm-hmm.
top downs, I feel like those are still just so popular. Like you take like Stardew Valley,
Yes.
I think Terraria
Yep.
is a little similar to
Terraria.
that. There's oh shoot, what was it called? Like Witchbrook.
The one, yeah, that's not out
The
yet, but the people
but it's the
behind
same. It's a similar
Stardew Valley.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like those games. It blows my mind that those do so like they're doing really well
Mm-hmm.
like right now, and it always makes me just wonder is like is was that like peak gaming like back in the mid 90s,
Ooh. Like the
was
8,
that was
16-bit
is
era.
or is it just nostalgia, you know that makes people want to play it again? It's just like I mean I played the heck out of Harvest Moon, and
Mm-hmm.
which that alone makes me want to play Stardew Valley because it's kind of just a natural successor.
Mm-hmm.
um but but like you look at like the old Final Fantasy games, Zelda, the old
Yep.
Zeldas. I don't know. It's just I'm happy about it. Like it makes me smile that that there's still games that are like these pixel based games that are still out there and still very very popular, because it's like that is just like a memory, like a trip down memory
Core memory.
lane. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, core memory. Those were I honestly was probably that was the most fun I've had playing video games, was back in that time. But maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
also because I was just a kid,
Yeah.
so it's like maybe I was just because I have no care in the world. It's just 100% video games. The biggest decision in my life at that time is which
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 soda to
character in my
drink?
party should, yeah, which soda. Well, that's easy. The answer was Surge. um but it's just, I don't know. I love that like these kind of like retro style games are still so popular,
Mm-hmm.
and that people are buying them. I mean, I imagine they're probably a little bit easier to develop. That's why you see a lot of indie games like in this style. Um, but the technology is also so good now for developing games that they still look they don't look dated. They look like they were made now, even
Mm-hmm.
though they're meant to look like they're from like 30 years ago.
Right.
Ooh,
I
30
think
years ago.
yeah. I do think it's like a lot of the people developing, and I have no reason to know any of this, but like the people developing these games are probably in of the age where that was like like you said, like their
That's true.
wheelhouse. And now, again, kind of tacking on what you said, like the development's more robust. Like the engines that they're
Mhm.
building in are built for this. They're not like paving the way, because that era
Mhm.
did it for them. And so now these
Mhm.
engines are built to accommodate everything and do more. So like even with
Right.
like Sea of Stars, which is like
Oh yeah, that was another
really,
one.
really awesome right now. And that one, when we were kind of both playing it, doing that demo, it looks like you said, it looks like it was built this year. Like the things they can
Mhm.
do now in the game that you couldn't do before, or the things that are just more refined, it's
Mhm.
super impressive. Um, there's another thing, point you hit on that I wanted to talk about, and I should take notes because I have an awful memory. Because like for me, the that era was like when I was quite a bit. I mean, it was like, because when I came up, or when I grew up, the N64 came out when I was like 6 or 7, and that was already,
Okay.
we're hitting the 64-bit era, so things are in 3D.
Right.
And so, but the first video game I ever played was Sonic the Hedgehog, so that's like
Mhm.
right there in that 16-bit,
Mhm.
right? 32-bit, one of those two.
32-bit.
That's,
Eh,
yeah, so that's like
it's a
still a
bit.
little bit. Yeah, it's a bit. It's a few number. But that was the first one I played, which I feel like that's that retro style, like that Sonic the Hedgehog is very much old school games, at least to
Mhm.
me. Maybe that's not super quite right, but like there is still a part of me that, like, when I see games like Sea of Stars and like Stardew Valley, it does kind of give you that nostalgia of like that
Mhm. Yeah,
comfort,
that
like we talked about before. It's like that
it
comfort
is.
game. Yeah,
It's yeah. Nope. That is the hit the nail on the head. Um, it's just I don't know. I love it. It's just such a great feeling, and maybe it's just something you appreciate more as you get a little older. Um, but
for sure.
it's just like yeah. So which is funny
I
actually. That's a good point. Well, that's something that you said. You said that Sonic was your very first video game.
hmm the OG Sonic, the very
Wow.
first one.
Yeah. Hmm. I think mine was Super Mario Brothers,
Ah,
and Duck Hunt. The
oh
the
yeah.
companion game, where you could choose to play either game from one cartridge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
So I'm I because I have memories of playing Duck Hunt because my grandma had the original like Nintendo,
hmm
and she had
yeah.
I which I have now actually. Like I have the original Nintendo with all of the original Nintendo games, and I think I have Duck Hunt with the gun. But I don't have a CRT
Yeah,
TV, and I don't think it works as well on a
I
non
don't think it
CRT
works
TV.
anymore.
Yeah, but I like my brother had a Sega Genesis, and that was at home, so that's where I remember playing Sonic. But when I would go to my
hmm
grandma's, I remember playing Duck Hunt, Excite Bike. I remember playing the original
hmm
Final Fantasy and not understanding what was going on because I was way too young to like put that together. But that
Yeah.
was the like original. I don't know if it was actually Final Fantasy 1 or Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy 3 I think was the first one released, and then they went back and released the other two, like
Yeah,
in the
there's a
United
whole thing
States.
with like
The
3 and
numbering.
6. Yeah, the
Yeah.
numbering is a little weird from Japan versus what was released in the US.
And
But
then I played the original, the first Zelda game I ever played, which this is just fine to me, was not the original Legend of Zelda, even though I do have it. It was the
uh-huh.
Legend of Link, like the side
Okay.
scrolling one. And I
Uh-huh.
remember being like, wow, this game blows.
Yeah. I don't
Which
know if I ever played Legend of Link, but
it it's it's fine.
it's fine.
It's not, it's okay. You don't have to. But one
Yeah.
other thing with the retro thing I wanted to bring up is, because I'm seeing this all over TikTok and just everywhere, are the retro style consoles that you can buy, where they come preloaded with like games from, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the Nintendo all the way up to like the PlayStation. And but
Right.
they're styled to look like a like more complex looking Game Boy Advance, or no, Game Boy
Mm-hmm.
Color. Like that's what
Right.
their design is, which I think that is now hitting like you're talking like those retro games, those 8, 16-bit, like the new games that they're making that are in that style are kind of hitting like your sweet spot. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Game Boy thing is like kind of my sweet spot. So it's like I'm getting all these targeted ads like, yeah, I want to buy all of these things just because they look cool. Not because of their
Right.
games are on all of them, the same games, but they look like a Game
Mm-hmm.
Boy, and that was what I spent my time walking around doing, playing my Game Boy.
Mm-hmm. No, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I've seen a huge push lately, also for like arcade boxes,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
mini arcade boxes, like for things like Galaga,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Space
Streets of
Invaders.
Rage, Space Invaders. I think I've seen one for, I think, the original Mortal Kombat, but I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like I'm really surprised that there's a market for that. That people are actually buying these things in droves enough that they're actually in stock at like Walmart and
Well, yeah,
Target
and
and stuff like
I
that.
think too, like they're not made the same. Like they're made more sophisticated. Like it's
Hmm.
just like an emulator. Like it's a Raspberry Pi that's just in
Right.
there. So it's not
Yeah.
anything wild like it used to be.
It's
It's
like
like
90% empty
the
space
guts are
inside.
like, yeah, exactly. Well, and I've seen too, some people have taken like Steam Decks and made
Hmm.
like with the dock, basically done that where they like dock it in they build like 3D printed or built their own arcade box around all of
Hmm.
the components, and then they dock their Steam Deck in the back, and now they have an arcade. And I'm like, okay, people are cool, and
Yeah,
this is
people are
something
very
I would
talented.
never think about doing, but I now want.
Right. Thankfully, it requires effort, and
I have
so
none.
that'll save my wallet. Yeah, I have done. But it's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's just weird, like seeing, like walking down the aisle at Walmart, and just like seeing like Mortal Kombat 1, not Mortal Kombat like the original Mortal Kombat, not the new Mortal Kombat 1, but the old Mortal
Oh,
Kombat 1.
right. According to
Um,
who's it that makes Mortal Kombat? Is it? It's not Capcom.
NetherRealm.
NetherRealm. Okay. According to them, no Mortal Kombat has ever existed other than the new Mortal Kombat one.
This is true. I believe this is canon now.
Yeah,
So,
I love
which
that. It's so
that's, yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you gotta, for a game that's been around for 30
Gotta shake it up.
years, you gotta shake it up at some point, right? You can't just, I guess. I mean, I guess you could, but I guess why not just start clean and start over?
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would love to be in the room, like a fly on the wall, in those like creative
Oh, yeah.
meetings, just to see. I just want to know what like their thought processes are for like why they do things.
Yeah.
Like, why are you like the way you are?
Right. Yeah, why
But
are you the way that you are?
but as far as like, I mean, it's Mortal Kombat. I mean, it's not easy to keep something like that fresh. So I give them
Yeah.
credit, for taking a shot.
Yeah.
But
And I feel
I
like
haven't
that kind
really
of
been
thing.
able to.
Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I would say I feel like with
No, you go
Mortal
ahead.
Kombat. No, you go ahead. With Mortal Kombat, it's like any publicity, it's like even bad publicity is good. It's like make waves,
Mhm.
like not even just shaking it up to try and be interesting. It's like, yeah, let's just make people angry, because then that will just get our name out there. People will like, hey, why do people hate Mortal Kombat? I'll look into Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat, and
what's
then
all
they're
this
like, oh,
about?
maybe I'll get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that's, I mean, I played a little bit of it. It hasn't captured me
mhm.
as much as I'd hoped. I Right now, I would say I probably enjoyed the fighting in 11 more so than I have in 1, the new one.
Yeah.
Um Also, it's weird because it's like some of my favorite characters from Mortal Kombat 11 that I like got really good with aren't playable in this one.
Ah,
So it's
well,
just
yeah.
like, and it's just like, all that work and I can't carry it over.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate for me. I'm like, oh, one of my favorite characters, because I really took it to liking to playing Jax
Mhm.
in 11, and now he's only a cameo which is like their partner system.
Oh yeah, I've
Like
seen some
you
of those.
choose like
Yeah,
you choose like a second fighter that you can like put in a command, and they'll like jump in, do a move,
and
and then
like
jump
do
back
a
out.
punch and then dip out.
Yeah,
Pop.
yeah, so now he's just relegated to that, and I'm
Mm,
like, that feels bad.
right. That like
If,
like for some people that would be like, well, I'm out. Like, yeah, because I know, especially in like competitive. I mean, maybe not like super competitive like
mm-hmm,
esports, Mortal Kombat people, but for people who are like get really like you like get really good with one character and then that character's no longer there. That sometimes that's enough to be like, I'm done. Like, I
mm-hmm,
don't want to learn other characters because I got so invested in this other character that's been here for a while. And so it's
mm-hmm.
like that's
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of
Jax has been in the game since Mortal Kombat 2.
yeah.
You
So
know, it's like, man, I'm like,
that
come
yeah,
on.
that kind of sucks. Speaking of, unless you have more, you want to talk about Mortal Kombat.
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
Speaking of things that now suck, Starfield
So,
is now has a mixed review score in Steam. It's now below
yeah.
70. I think 70% is where is the threshold for positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then between, in the middle, it's mixed, and then it'll be like if it goes any worse, it would be I don't know what the rating system is in Steam, but it is now a recently only 53% were positive, and all
Mm-hmm.
reviews 69% are positive.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
it
Fell off hard.
yeah, it definitely. I was talking with someone else. It was definitely, even if the game was really really good, it was definitely overhyped, right? Like,
Right. Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
that's
our
what.
podcast started out when it was not coming out, and
Oh
we were
yeah,
so
I mean, we
excited.
hyped it up so much, and
Yeah,
but also it's like
it's
what
our
that
problem.
that.
It got overhyped.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also marketing's job is
Of
to hype
course.
it up as much as possible, and then you
Yeah.
get sales from that. But I can see, like, I totally understand why people might be turned off on Starfield. I still enjoyed it. I still haven't finished it yet because of kind of burnout, but we'll talk about that as a whole another day.
Hmm.
But um, I can totally see Starfield as being a game that will get an uptick probably next year whenever they start releasing. One DLC, which I mean they haven't
Hmm.
officially announced anything, but it's pretty obvious that it's built to have more
Right.
content, and then adding in what modders will put in. That too will also, I think, give it a boost. Now, that's not to say it may even make it back to positive, but I think what people are finding out is like at the beginning it's an interesting game, but as you play more and more, it gets a little more shallow.
Hmm. Yeah.
You start like kind of like seeing like, oh yeah, like, well, I think we talked a little bit about like there's it's like the same four or five outpost layouts
Yep.
for any random like point of location that you find, and then of course then it's just the desolation of every planet.
Right.
It's so barren, but maybe it did just need to cook a little longer
Yeah.
in the oven. So I don't know. I don't know what their plans are for it moving forward. It's obviously not probably a, they're probably not thrilled.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The Bethesda.
Yeah.
So um
I don't know. It is interesting. I
yeah.
bet they're probably sort of thrilled, assuming that there wasn't a whole lot of like refunds, because I think
Uh-huh.
it did sell really well.
I'm
So,
sure.
and I
I'm sure it
mean,
sold really well. I mean, it's a Bethesda game, so it's
yeah,
gonna
and
sell well,
that's
right?
ultimately what a company cares about, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you would really hope that they're concerned about like the quality, but
Mm-hmm.
when you break it down, did it make money? Yes, a win. That's really
Mm-hmm.
all that matters.
Well, and then also like on going on that, it's just like if they want to make the game better. I mean, look at Cyberpunk.
Yes.
it was a big commercial success really at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
until like people started refunding, but they also used that money that they made up front to make the game better, and
Yeah.
now it's in a really good place. So I mean, I would assume that something similar is going to happen with Bethesda. Like, well, it's not like they're really hurting for money,
Yeah,
so
they
I
just
don't
got
know.
bought out by Xbox, so it's not even
Yeah,
like yeah, they're fine, or by Microsoft, I should say.
Microsoft,
Um,
yeah.
I
But I don't know. Go ahead.
I have a more uh cynical, negative take on it because I think with Cyberpunk, because Cyberpunk was a good point to bring up because that was absolutely they fumbled, but then they recovered so hard in the last year or so. They
Hmm.
progressively updated it, trying to make it better, and then I think that 2.0 patch before Phantom Liberty came out, that was what ever like that is really what sealed it. Is like, all right, now this game is pretty dope. Like this game
Hmm.
is worth everyone's attention, and Phantom Liberty is just fantastic. Um,
Hmm.
but to me, Cyberpunk always had like the story was always good, no matter all of the other problems.
Hmm.
Starfield to me, the story and the main like is not that good. Like there's a whole lot of repetition in the main story.
Hmm.
And that's where I think it's going to be they're going to struggle like making that better because like you can't
Right.
fix the story now, right? Like there you
Yeah,
can't
it's out
adjust.
there.
Yeah. Where Cyberpunk was like they had the story was good, all of that stuff was like good. They just had to iron out basically everything else. And then they figured that
Hmm.
out. I am curious like we talked about like any DLC that comes out, any mods that try and make things better, like I'm absolutely going to try those to see what that does to
Hmm.
the game. But I think Starfield, like looking at the like my how I feel right now on the day before Thanksgiving, um, I do think it will be one of the worst Bethesda games that they've released. I don't, and I'm kind of curious what this is going to do to the hype for Elder Scrolls 6,
Right.
which is going to be
Yeah.
45 years from now, so everyone might have
Yeah. Who
forgotten.
knows?
But I think everyone will forget, and then as the game gets closer to coming out, they're all going to be like, "Hey, remember how bad Starfield was?" And then I'm
Hmm.
curious what this will do to that. Which, like, hopefully, because that won't be in space, and that'll be the same,
Yeah.
Tamriel.
Well, I've, I, I've kind of explained before in previous episode that, like, kind of how I think the genre itself doesn't doesn't do them any favors for
Yeah.
Starfield.
Hmm.
But I definitely think having the established setting of Tamriel, having all the previous Elder Scroll games to like build off of, I think that makes it a little easier. I hope obviously Starfield's gonna be a lesson learned, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
But I definitely anticipate Elder Scrolls 6 being just a complete um it's going to be really popular. It's going to be it's I don't think I don't think Starfield will have as huge of an impact on its like sales because it's it is Elder Scrolls, and
Hmm.
the last Elder Scrolls that they made knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So you would lead it's their wheelhouse, right? Starfield was something, it was supposed to be something that, like, this is something that's completely different for them,
Yeah.
and they kind of fumbled it, right?
Yeah.
um but but I guess maybe it's almost great for Bethesda that they can just fall back and say, okay, well, let's go back to like what we do well,
Right.
and take what we learned from Starfield and apply it to Elder Scrolls 6, which, like I said, who knows when that's going to come out. I mean, I it's such a shame. I mean, thankfully Skyrim has such replayability, which that's another thing with
Hmm.
Starfield, is just not a lot of replayability, not a lot to
Yeah.
pull you back in, right?
Right.
Um
Because even
but
like Oblivion and Morrowind have, to some extent, a
yeah,
lot of
there's
replayability.
still like I still see people playing that game as well. But yeah, it's we'll see. I mean, and honestly, by the time Elder Scrolls comes out, who even maybe we won't even remember Starfield, or maybe it'll be a complete turnaround game,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it may be like, and if anything, that helps. It could,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do think like a studio like Bethesda, something big, they're huge, right? Like they release
Right.
these big games. They needed to be humbled in some way, right? And
Hmm.
so I think this, like where I think we're both hoping that they take something from this, like the lessons learned from this, and they can apply that. But as you were talking, I was starting to think, like you said, the Elder Scrolls is in an established area. It's got an established canon. It goes back so many games that they've been building on and building on. The world is huge.
Hmm.
Um, it's also in that medieval or high fantasy where there's a bunch of different races. There's a bunch of different conflicts. And the more I was thinking about it, like in Starfield, there's only like what? There's three main factions,
Right.
and then the Crimson Fleet is a fourth,
Hmm.
or is that one of the main ones? I can't remember. I think that's
Well, you have
the
oh gosh,
United.
the United, the
I can't even remember. I feel that's how
I,
little I've played this game.
I
Whoa,
know it is
faction.
the Freestar
But
Collective.
yeah, okay. Let's
Then
see.
there's also the they start with a V.
Constellation, UC Vanguard, Crimson Fleet, Ryujin Industries, Freestar Rangers, and then isn't there's the snake one, right? Isn't that another one?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but and maybe I haven't played it enough to like witness more conflict, but I feel like there isn't enough conflict in the game. Like if there was more conflict, that might make the game more interesting.
Hmm.
Like the Crimson Fleet is against everyone, right? So everyone
Hmm.
is like against them. They're the ones that, blah blah blah. All of the other ones are just kind of like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of conflict in between them too
Yeah,
much. It's just
they
like,
talk about like it, like they had, like, there used to be, before the story starts, there used to be
right.
a lot of conflict, and now everybody's just kind of like there,
And
and like,
like, yeah, right. And they're all like friendly, like they're all with each
mhm.
other. So it's like you
Like we
join
just
one,
weren't
you
at war with
can't,
each other.
yeah, you join one and it's like, okay, you can't do anything with the other two, but they're not going to like openly try and kill you when you go anywhere. They're just going to be
Hmm.
like, we don't like you. With like Skyrim, I know it was only two main, like the main war of the main quest in Skyrim.
Hmm.
It's only two factions, but there's also all of those other races that have their own independent conflicts going on all the time, which
Hmm.
added something to it. But with something like I think what is so interesting about Skyrim is that main quest. You can literally take over Skyrim as one of those two factions, where that's not
Hmm.
really like a thing you can do that I'm aware of in Starfield. It's just like
Hmm.
there are all these factions and there are quests with them, but like doing those quests don't like now make the Freestar Collective like the prevailing like faction in the galaxy
Right.
or whatever. Which
Yeah, they're
like
just
I
kind
get
of
that's
there.
hard too because there's
Yeah.
galaxies, but
Hmm.
it's like that's like an added, like that adds something to the story, and I think that's like for sure one of the things missing from Starfield in my humble opinion.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I totally see that. It's just,
It's
I don't know. The bones are good, right? Like the gameplay for itself. I mean,
the
it was
gameplay is
fine.
good.
It's
Yeah.
just the story was a little weak. Um, but like you said, the story's out there now. It's like it's in
Yeah.
the world. It exists. It can't be like undone.
Yeah.
So, but I'm open to be surprised by
Me
any
too.
DLC.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm still gonna go back and play it,
Yeah. I need to finish
but
it.
yeah, exactly. And I need to. I mean, because I want to give it a fair shake. I mean, on
Yeah,
on
for
my
sure.
end, yeah, like I know it's disappointing to a lot of people, So far, I've had a lot of I have had fun. I've enjoyed
Hmm.
it. I think it's pretty.
Yes,
I think it has some really cool features that appeal to me specifically. Like I like the outpost building. I like stuff like that.
shipbuilding.
Yeah, the shipbuilding is really fun. Um, but um, but yeah, it's like that's kind of like a very niche thing though. Like a lot of people don't play the game for that. Like whereas
Yeah,
I do, you know.
right, for sure. And like I like to be I guess I don't like to be negative. I I would rather be negative about it now and then eat crow later because it gets better,
Hmm.
um, than try and predict that it's gonna, you know, make this huge turnaround. Not to say like
Yeah.
that's not a good way to think about it. That's probably a healthier, more positive way to think about it. But
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I do for football too. Like when the Chiefs are like losing, like with both Super Bowls, I was like, great, we just fumbled the bag here, and then we ended up winning. So it's like that's like how I justify my
yeah.
cynical view of everything. Didn't work on Monday, but that's a different story.
Yeah. That's a different podcast.
Yeah, it's a different podcast that we did
Yeah.
exactly two of.
Yeah. Oh well. But I think that's a good place to
Hmm.
wrap it up. But yeah. So Steam sale. Go out there, check it
Go
out.
there.
See if there's some cool stuff out there to buy.
Half-Life, Black
Um,
Mesa.
yeah, Half-Life Black Mesa. I'll have to check that out. $4 right now on Steam.
Yeah, the original
So
Half-Life's $1. So, and Half-Life 2 is $1.
I love that the tax is probably more than the actual
Yeah, it's like
than the
70
actual game
cents or
itself.
something.
Yeah. But yeah, so check that out. We'll keep you up to well we'll keep you up to date. This Steam sale will probably be over by the time we do our next podcast, so I won't say that we can't
Yeah,
really give out any advice on what games to buy.
we can talk about if we bought anything in our next
Yeah, well,
podcast.
that's probably a little bit better way to go. But yeah, so again, thanks for listening. We covered a lot of topics today. We
Yeah, we
covered
did.
like a wide range of stuff, so I'm pretty happy with that. But we will try to catch you next week. And for those of you who celebrate, happy Thanksgiving,
Happy Thanksgiving.
happy Turkey Day. And we will catch you later. My name is Nate,
I'm Tommy.
and we are the 8-Bit Upstarts. Have a great day.